Welcome in. This is the first ever episode of The Glue Guys. I'm Landen Lucas. This is Richard Lucas, my father, also known as Pops to some. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. And I'm only Pops to one, because unless there's other kids out there that I don't that you have that I don't know about. If it is just the one child, then I'm Pops to that one child. Okay.
But anyways, start over now.
Yeah.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself so they know I'm not just bringing on some grandfather to come talk basketball and Jayhawk basketball and football and sports.
So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my background. First of all, I feel like for this audience, the most important thing is I'm your father. And so I was the one who brought you into this world to be able to go down to Lawrence and perform for I guess really 5 years that you were there. But it really for me is and even your journey started because I was always involved in basketball, growing up, and it really was something that never came naturally for me. I was always somebody, even when I was a kid, I was tall, but I wasn't very good. And so it took me a little bit to realize that I had to work hard still in order for me to excel and have some success. So I got how far back do you want to go? Like, am I going back to
just enough so that people know, know what you're talking about.
All right.
I just want them to know that I'm not just bringing somebody on, with me.
Gotcha.
So, basketball stuff. You don't have to talk about how you're an insurance agent or anything boring.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's boring. But because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to start I had a paper out when I was 8. I guess I'm not going that far.
Back in the 60s or whenever.
Not that old, but okay. So I got you. So really, I guess my basketball journey, you could say that I got recruited to not as high level as you, but I earned a full scholarship to the University of Oregon. So I am a Duck, an Oregon Duck, and we're not going to talk about any games.
No, we won't, never.
Between those two programs. That will never come up. And then from there, I ended up playing professionally for 5 years, and a couple of tryouts with Seattle Sonics. Again, they used to be in Seattle, and then with the Portland Trailblazers. Did not make either of those. And then my coaching stint started as I was a women's assistant basketball coach. And you want to know how I got that job? I don't know if you know this story.
I don't know.
So I got that job because I was so good. No, I got that job because after I had graduated, my eligibility was done. I was back in the fall to try and I needed one more term in order to graduate. So I was back at Oregon and just as a student, and I was literally sitting at the men's basketball game. So my former teammates, I was sitting in the stands watching them play. And the women's head coach came over and tapped me on the shoulder. And he and I had seen each other, in the training room and stuff like that. Super nice guy. And he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Hey, can you come to the office to chat?" And I said, "Okay. Can you tell me what it's about?" He's going, "It's just an opportunity." I said, "Okay." So this was early December, and I went over to his office, and he said, one of my assistant coaches got pregnant a few months ago, and she is having a very difficult pregnancy, and so she's going to have to stop coaching for now. And so, would you consider being a coach when you graduate? And I said, "I graduate in 2 weeks," and he's like, "Done." So I graduated on a Friday, and on a Monday, I started my coaching career with women's basketball, and then I switched over to men's basketball. So I was an assistant men's coach at San Jose State University, as well as University of Portland.
And then a little time as an agent after that, right? So you got all aspects.
Yeah. So then I was a sports agent, for about 2 years. I was a very extremely unsuccessful sports agent. So I'm not going to talk.
Gave it a shot. All right, we'll leave that out. We'll leave that out. But
we can edit that part out. But anyway, yes, I did do
Well, I mean, that's obviously why, apart from the fact that we can talk about sports all day, I wanted you on the show with me, is your knowledge from all the aspects that you bring. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this. We'll be talking, some Kansas basketball, football. We may dabble in some other things, some poker, NFL, fantasy. Hopefully, not.
Are we going to talk fantasy? I mean, 'cause we can.
I don't
Should
want
we
to
start there?
I don't want to this week because I know you just recently beat me.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and just skip over that for now. But I appreciate, I know you're in the hotel. Where are you at right now?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas. So is that, what stadium is that behind you? Is that
Oh, yeah, the one that's over here. It's where it looks like it's where the because I'm in technically in Arlington, so I think it's where the
Gotcha.
Texas baseball team
Okay.
is, and then on the other side of the hotel is what is it, AT&T Stadium, I believe, for the Cowboys. So
Cowboys, the America's team, the best team in the country.
they are.
They should be. Well,
The country of Arlington, Texas, maybe.
I just realized that my sign is it backwards for you?
No, it says Rock Chalk.
The correct way? No, it's backwards.
Yes. No, it's correct. It's the correct way.
Anyways, well, thank you for kind of introducing yourself to the people. I feel like I almost need to reintroduce myself because it has been quite a while since I've interacted with any Jayhawk fans for the most part. And as you know, my life is completely different than it was 5 years ago. Has it been 5 years or 4 years ago? And so this episode, we're going to bring on Derek later on to talk a little bit about what's going on with Kansas basketball, Kansas football. We have a From the Stand segment where we're going to be bringing on a fan. And in future episodes, I would like to bring on a coach or a player. But for this episode, I'm going to take that role, take that position, just to kind of talk a little bit about what I've been up to. And I've got a lot of people curious because in a way, I kind of fell off the face of the earth to some who follow only basketball. If you follow poker, maybe you see what I've been doing. But yeah, it's been quite the journey since leaving, and I guess we can get into that now and let the people know a little bit.
Yeah, so it's been, like you said, it's been 4 years. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that? It feels like it's been a while.
It has. 2017, I graduated. Okay. First stop was with the Celtics. Okay. We had the camp and the summer league with that. And just leaving college, I was feeling very confident about everything, and things were shaping up pretty well. I know they just signed. That was the year they signed Gordon Hayward. So they had very little money to fill 3 more spots. They needed 2 of those spots to be bigs. And on the summer league roster, there was, I don't know, the 14, 15 people, but a 7-man rotation that I was a part of. And 6 of the 7 were all signed to contracts. It was a stacked team. It was Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Zizic, Semi Ojeleye, a point guard, I forgot his name, but all these guys who were signed, and me, who was in the rotation, I was playing pretty well. And so I was feeling pretty good. And then they went ahead and traded Avery Bradley to free up some space. And so that from there, they got, I think, Greg Monroe and somebody else. And so that opportunity to get a guaranteed contract came and went. It was back to looking at some 2-ways and some non-guaranteed stuff. And so
remember, though, you started that last summer league game.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good about stuff. And
you were shooting. You realize how much you shot outside. Kansas fans have no idea that you can actually shoot, because the whole time you were there, you didn't shoot outside the key.
No, if I shot outside the key, I was coming out the game most of the time. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They had no idea that you could shoot like that. Yeah. And you were crushing it in the league.
I think that I was 6 for 7 or 7 for 8, in that mid-range area during the summer league. And so I had some turnarounds. I was feeling myself. So, I was feeling pretty good about things. And and had some opportunities even after that, but ultimately decided to go to Tokyo. And I don't know how many people know my background. Obviously, you do. I spent time growing up in Japan. You were playing there, which
3 years.
so I was, spent a few years, then ended up going back for a few years for school to learn Japanese. And that has always kind of been a part of me. And so they came back and reached out to recruit me to go there, knowing the Olympics was coming up, 2020. Obviously, that ended up getting pushed back and everything. But they were trying to get me to come out there, play in their league, and then play in the Olympics. And contract was everything I could ask for and more. I mean, very few times leaving college, you get to sign a contract that is $1 million. And then on top of it, have endorsements and all these things. So for me, all of my focus was, all right, this seems like the best business decision moving forward. Little did I know, however, that would be kind of the beginning of the end for the basketball career. I, mentally love competing and love competing at the highest level, at the biggest stakes. And what was the main reason that I chose Kansas over some of those other schools at the end of the day? You remember?
Because, yeah, of course I remember. Because, after being at the exhibition game, which I feel like I should tell that story very quickly. But when we went on your recruiting visit, it was a non-counting exhibition game, and the fans were waiting, like basically whatever. I don't know if they sleep there or not, but they had the fans all lined up like a day before, and I knew that right then and there that the passion was there, and I've been inside and watched games and Gonzaga, and I've been to Cameron Indoor, and I've been to several different arenas around the country. And there is not one place that is better in the country, in my opinion. I haven't been to every single one.
Not even close. Yeah, not even close.
But there's not anything that out there that outweighs what is going on there in Lawrence. And so, yeah, I remember after flying back and I was kind of going through the pros and cons. I mean, if you wanted to go to one of the Pac-12 schools or some of Tennessee or some of the other schools that are recruiting you, you could be maybe not play very much as a freshman. As a sophomore, you get some substantial minutes and then be a 2-year starter or maybe even more. But that was a guaranteed route. No. But I tried to let you know at Kansas, they're always trying to find somebody better. Mm-hmm. But you wanted to take that challenge on because you knew and wanted to play at the highest level. Yep. And it doesn't get any higher than.
And then I actually went on another visit to the last game between Missouri and Kansas, where the
block
Robinson got the block. It went into overtime, and I was like, all right, I'm so happy with this decision. And part of it was the crowd, the fans, all of that. But the biggest thing was competing at the highest level. I knew if I could make it happen there, I was making it happen at the top of the top. It doesn't get any higher than that at that level. Yeah. When, you're coming out of high school. And so for me, even though Coach Self is sitting there letting me know, hey, good luck, pretty much, I took that challenge on, and it motivated me to, compete and play at the highest level at the biggest games. I mean, we're always everybody's, biggest game of the year most of the time. The crowds are crazy. It's always going to be on some kind of national television. So for me, that's what drove me. And I quickly realized, leaving and going overseas, that no disrespect to overseas. I mean, there's some great players overseas, as you know, and there's probably in the EuroLeague and stuff, better players at times than there are in the NBA. However, for me, it just wasn't the highest level possible. And I felt at that point in time, my kind of drive and passion for it to start to slide. And so from there, I spent half a season in Japan, half a season in Russia, really forcing it in a way. I think my mind was checked out and my body was giving me kind of that reason to, oh, okay, your mind's checked out. Here's an injury, and on top of it, once you get hurt overseas, it's not the same treatment you get at Kansas, where you have the top of the top, multiple times a day. I remember I had to, in Russia, drive to the store to get, and this is a top team, top league in the world, the BTB league, and I was still driving to get ice from the store on the way home. And so, the difference is huge. And
so you wait, you weren't pampered?
I was
spoiled. You were pampered.
We were flying private. I was getting the top of the top, and I go from that to living and by myself in a different country where it's cold, and I have no trainers working with me, and it was it definitely tests your will and tests your passion for basketball. And some people are built for that. And me personally, I have so many other interests that slowly just faded to the back burner. And so from there, came back, had one more kind of effort in the summer league with the Hawks. The whole time I was dealing with Achilles injury that was bugging me, and calf, and I was probably 70% through that. Didn't really even get to practice with them leading into summer league. And then when I knew it was time to have a talk with myself, was the self-made TBT tournament. And I had already committed to that. So after leaving the summer league, I was like, okay, let me, fulfill this commitment, go out there, play in this TBT. We were playing in Wichita. And I remember in that game, going out there, we were losing in the second half to this team that clearly had practiced together. They were, playing together, all this stuff. We kind of just ran out there and played. But we were losing. And I remember thinking, wow, I'm kind of happy that we're going to lose, because that means we don't have to play any more games. And that's when I realized, because me, I hate to lose. I mean, you had to let me win Madden games before going to bed just so that I can sleep at night as a kid.
Yeah. The last game, I used to beat your butt on all the other ones.
The last game.
I learned that if you lost the last one, you were a nightmare to try and put down.
Exactly.
To sleep. So I would let you barely beat me, and you were just the most excited little kid in the world, and you would just float yourself over to the bed and go to bed with a big old smile on your face. And I'm walking out the door like, sucker.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
So anyways, I mean, I hate losing. It's one thing that also attracted me to Kansas and Coach Self and stuff, is because he hates losing too. And so for me to feel this feeling that I hadn't almost ever experienced. I mean, there's very few times in my life I know I was content or okay with losing, and this was one of those times. I needed to check myself, and I did. And coincidentally, that same summer, a few weeks before, while I was out in Vegas for the summer league, I met Kelly, who's my girlfriend's son's mother. And she is a professional poker player. And so she said, hey, I was telling her, I remember after the TBT, I was telling her, I was like, hey, I don't know if this is for me or not. And she, was telling me her poker schedule for the next 6 months or whatever. And it was all these cool places. She's like, I'm going to Australia. I'm going to the Bahamas. I'm going out all across the country. I'm like, hey, that sounds kind of fun. And so
weren't you worried though? She's a professional.
She is a professional, but I thought very highly, and to go into some people who don't know my background with poker, which many don't, you do. When I was younger, got into poker because I saw Phil Ivey on TV. Back in the day when you could only watch what was on TV. I'd be on ESPN, which is the only channel I really liked, and poker would come on, and I would see Phil Ivey, black poker player wearing a basketball jersey, a Steve Francis jersey or something, and I was like, I kind of like that, and I always wanted to learn. I learned with you. You ended up playing because of that for a while.
Not professionally.
Not professionally. But I always just was into it, and even before meeting her, I would play all the time. I was in LA training, and I remember I would train and then go play. Even at Kansas in the summertime, during the summer workouts, I would train. I would go golf, and then I would stop by the casino, play some poker. I put most of the down payment on my Mercedes, actually, with money from poker.
Oh, you're a good
So
poker player for sure.
so I got into poker then, and this was obviously a big jump, as you mentioned. She is a professional. This is what she does. But I like the challenge because of what I said before. I want
Yeah.
the challenge. I want to compete at the highest level. And with poker, the greatest thing about it is you instantly can be thrown in with the best in the world. I've already had a chance to play with the best. And so that motivated me to, hey, let me learn a little bit more about tournament poker specifically and get into it. And so I spent only about a few weeks studying and getting ready for it, and then went out there and started playing tournaments. I played through that year, had some success, finished second in that WTPT event. That
San
was
Diego, right?
um, and I was still learning, but it was fun to have some early success, get out kind of ahead, build a bankroll a little bit. But that's my poker background, and it really has led me to want to pursue that more at this time. And then everything kind of aligned between me losing interest at the TBT, and then Kelly kind of coming into my life and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I tagged along.
Yeah.
We ended up traveling. We went Bahamas. We went on that cruise, poker cruise. We went all across the United States. We went to Australia for Australia, New Zealand, and the best thing about all this was before the pandemic, and so we, all the way up until lockdown, got to travel all over the place, something that now you can't do. And it was a great experience. And so from there, I decided, now that I'm kind of stepped away from basketball at the highest level, maybe I can play it for fun, and then just enjoy it. Just give this another shot, but enjoy it this time. And I ended up going over to Cyprus, which is a small island in Greece, playing out there. That was going well. I was really, a part of me wanting to do this was knowing that I was about to have Isaiah, my son. And I was almost 300 pounds at the time. And I was like, this may get me back into shape, and I play at 250. And it was true. I got all the way back down towards playing weight, went over there. First few games was kind of getting a feel for things, playing on a limited minutes. And then fourth game, finally got the shackles off. He said, play as much as you want. I did. I had 30 some and 15. It was going great. Fifth game in, first quarter, starting off great, 10-7. I'm like, oh, I'm killing. And then obviously the injury happened. I tore up my ankle going for a rebound that was out of my area that somebody else on my team could have got. But you know how we do rebounds.
Yes, every rebound is
every
ours.
every rebound. And so
Yes.
As soon as I saw it come off, I'm like, he could get that, but I think I want to. And I went and got it. And unfortunately, that led to my complete ankle inside and outside, full tears. Tried to rush it back towards the end of the season with that team out there, and just never got back into shape. And so that was the last I played. And now I am actually just living the life of poker player, and I can't even complain. I get people who message me all the time, like, agents and stuff. Hey, we have this job for you. It's Israel, or, it's France, and this amount of money and this and that. And, for a second, I'm like, oh, that'd be interesting. And then I think back to it. I'm like, I right now play poker. I play golf. I hang out with my son. I'm living a life. So, it's been a whirlwind and all over the place, but I couldn't be happier with kind of where I'm at now. Will I play basketball again? Who knows? If one of these jobs spark my interest, I may take it, but I know playing at that highest level is just out of the, it's not an option right now, and not something that I mentally, am prepared to take those steps to get back there. And so if I did, it would be more for fun, more for travel, but that's kind of where I'm at right now, and what led me to Arizona.
So should we discuss? Did you even say in the beginning what the name of the show is?
The Glue Guys. I think
You
I
did
did.
say,
I introduced us as the Glue Guys, but do you want
but
to?
we haven't discussed on what that. I
Well,
mean,
you know what? Why don't you go ahead? You're the one who
okay.
came up with the name. You come up with all the names. So go ahead and tell the people why we are bringing them the Glue Guy as a show.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I think of the folks who are listening to this as Midwest, and when I think of Midwest, I think of Midwest as the tough, hard nosed, lunch pail type of folks, not the foo-foo West Coasters that I deal with every day. And so, the Glue Guys, part of it is because, Landon was a two-time national glue guy by, was it Seth?
Seth Davies, I think is his name.
Seth Davies. So, and Landon, you had so much success being that glue guy for KU during your time there, and I was never given this distinction of glue guy, but
they didn't have that back in your day. That was too long ago.
No, yeah, glue wasn't created yet. But for me, it was I used to get all of the similar descriptions about me being someone who's tough, and I bring the lunch pail, and my coach used to always talk about how it was just when the game was on, it was like I would do anything that it took to that in my power. And I did all of the dirty things, the stuff that nobody, not dirty, like that dirty. But I did all the little things, the rebounding and the defense and the blocking, all the stuff that kind of came out in you as well. So, so I felt like I was kind of the honorary glue guy. Seth was doing that back then. And so you put those together, then you got
perfect name.
The glue guys together. So I think what you'll find is that now you got two glue guys. Okay. And so that's double glue.
Gorilla.
So we're super. So what I'm saying is that means that we're going to bring it every single time we do this. We're gonna do it to the best of our ability. It's not going to be flashy. We're not stepping out and doing fall away threes. Right? We're not going to have any strobe lights or anything.
Keep it simple.
We're going to keep it simple, but we're going to bring it, right? And we're going to do everything in our power to make this successful. So that's the
good. Well, I'm excited about it. I think that now would be a nice time to go ahead and bring on our first guest. Derek, how's it going? You are officially the first guest ever on the Glue Guys podcast. So welcome. It's an honor to have you.
Hey, I'm happy to be guest number one. I guess it's all uphill from here.
I guess that's one. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, your involvement in the Kansas area, what you're working on, and kind of let the people know your background a little bit.
Yeah, so I work on Rock Chalk Sports Talk. It is the local flagship radio station in town. On KLWN, we air all the KU games, football, basketball, so forth. And I do the Monday through Friday radio show in town from 3 to 6. So always a good time this time of year when we got kind of the football, basketball crossover with plenty of conversation, that's for sure.
I got to say, he has the perfect radio voice, right? I mean, he just sounds like he's made for radio. But let's get started and tell us a little bit about your thoughts on Kansas basketball through what now 6 games, the start of the season. Let's get into a little bit of talk about what's going on, and I would love to hear your impression of things so far. I've only got a chance to catch a few of the games up until this point, but I'm sure you've probably watched all and studied all, so I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, it's impossible to go, 3 sentences without talking about how good Ochai's been so far this season for KU. I mean, over 22 a game, shooting 55% from the field, over 40 from 3. He just looks so confident, and I think everything that he took from kind of the NBA evaluation process, he was already a good player last year, has really helped him grow his game and just kind of taking that, seniority approach when you come back. And I'm sure you can attest to this. Like when you come back for that last year and that, this is it for me. I'm sure there's something a little extra that kind of drives you that season. So he's been really good. Certainly last week, there was a little bit of a downer for KU with the loss to Dayton. But I'll say this, the good news from that is that they bounced back, right? Where that's always the question when you lose a game like that, where it's kind of a weird loss. And we've seen this before for KU, right? You lose to, I think, Nevada with like Nick Fazekas 15 years ago. The 0-2 team lost to Ball State in the Maui Invitational, and that team was loaded with, Drew Good and Nick Collison and so forth. They ended up making the Final Four. 2012 team lost to Davidson at the Sprint Center. They made the national championship game. I think your senior year, you guys lost to Indiana in the opener, and that Indiana team ended up being all right, but you guys ended up killing it from there. So it's just kind of how you bounce back from that. And I'll say this, like that was, I think, the biggest positive for me moving forward from that game, that you went out and kind of just held Iona at arm's distance really the whole game after the loss to Dayton. But there's questions as well, right? Like the defense. I know Bill Self has talked about this, and all the players in the press conferences after the game against Iona were really mentioning like, no, but we got to play better defense. And I'm sure that was a talking point in the locker room, as you could imagine.
Yeah, I mean, when you're putting up the amount of points that Kansas is and still in close games and stuff, I mean, the defense is always something that coaches preached and built us on. And one thing I noticed, and this was in the dating game especially, is that next level, like almost, put your foot on their throats mentality, because to have a team come in, they were 2-3, right? 2-3. They had losses at home to teams that, had no business even being in the same name as Kansas. And they had already lost them with 12 freshmen, and they were up 11-1 or 13-2, and they had to call a timeout. At that point in time, there's no way that team should have any kind of confidence moving forward. I mean, that team should know at that point in time that they can't compete, and you got to finish the job. And there's too many times where it looked like, from especially a defensive end, you would go through a spurt, do something well, and there's that next level, like that killer mentality, instinct to just, okay, we're going to put this team away and extend this 10, 12-point lead to 20, 25. And I know there's a few teams that I've been on that was really good at that. And there was also a few teams, and one comes to mind, is one of the most talented, with Andrew Wiggins and Joel and stuff, that, there's sometimes where you just don't have that next level instinct and mindset. And so I think that when it comes to the defensive end, that's the first thing that I noticed, especially in that dating game. We had a chance to put them away early, and we just didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, one thing that I really found interesting, I was looking today, both Dayton and North Texas shot over 60% on 2-point shots in those games. And then the Iona game, they shot over 50 from 2 and from 3. And like, out of comparison, if you're shooting 60% on 2s over the course of a season as a team, you're going to be top 5 in the country. Like, that is elite numbers. And we don't see that happen against KU defenses very often. So I guess, first of all, like what do you think Bill Self is talking with his team about? And I guess furthermore, like, how correctable do you think that type of stuff is on the defensive side of the ball throughout a season?
It's correctable. And you know what? Timing of this is pretty good. It's good for a coach, and not so good for a player, because you're going into the Dad, you know how this goes. This is the worst time to start.
We got you.
Taking L's, because next thing you know, time frees up. No kids are on campus anymore. You're going to have no classes and nothing but time to work on it. And so if you are going to take a L and have some time to learn from it, now's a good time, because you can, utilize that time. And instead of having players who are, I've been on a team, you go into those breaks, you're feeling yourself, you kind of half-assing in practice, everything. There's a different look and feel than a team that just lost, or is going through some things that need fixing heading into that break. And so timing couldn't be better. And if you say what needs to be done to fix it, it's going to be taking advantage of that time. And I know Coach Self is one of the best at it as far as, gathering the guys together, learning from the mistakes, and then really, focusing on how they can get better and using that time, to the best of their abilities.
Yeah. And I'll say this, like, I would just think, and maybe you can attest to this, because right now they're, fourth on offense, 32nd on defense. If you're looking at like Ken Palm adjusted efficiencies, I would just think you'd rather have it that way than the opposite way, right? Like, I feel like the defensive side of the ball, is that more correctable over the course of a season than maybe the offense, where it is maybe more reliant on just having like good shooters, good athletic players and talent?
Yeah. If I could jump in on that, because I just feel like from my time in coaching is that on the defensive side, it's when you're dealing with high level athletes, especially the high level athletes at KU, they can get to their positions. They can do the physically, they can do the things that they need to do. Now it is getting them to that buy-in of making them understand that if they don't do these things, then they're not going to have as successful a season as they want. Because you can get away with it. So I agree with you a little bit, but you can get away with it now. You're not, when you're in the meat of the Big 12 and you're on the road at West Virginia, that you can't give up that many points. You can't give up, 60%.
Yeah.
You just can't and expect to have any level of success. So the good news is it is correctable. It's not like these guys, this is not Portland State or something, and these guys can't physically do what they need to do. They know what they need to do, and they have a defensive-minded coaching staff. So they'll be able to fix that. But I will agree with you, Derek, in the sense of between the two, though.
Yeah.
If I had to choose one to work on, it would be that defense, because I think you can get them to buy into that a little bit easier than the actual physical part of why are we not hitting open shots, or why are we not spacing correctly, or why are we not cutting correctly. So anyway, those are my 2 cents on that.
Landon, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with him, and I think moving forward, it is something that as the season goes along, you start to find your identity on defense, and then as the magnitude of the game start to ramping up and stuff, there's just a different feel, and a little bit more pride that comes into it when you get into the Big 12, when you get into March Madness and stuff, and so. I would look to see them develop, and they're going to need to, because by the time, February, March comes around, as you said, that's when you need it. Because if you're not at that point in time, all it takes, especially in March, is one good shooting night where you're just a little bit off, as we've seen many times before with Kansas games, and you're out of the tournament. And so you're all just kind of building towards that. And I think Coach Self always looks at it more as like a long-term, like marathon, and not ever trying to, just rush things early on. He knows that you're building towards something. And so these early losses, I mean, if it's going to happen, happen now, learn from it, have this time over the break to work on some things, and then come out of it heading into Big 12, hopefully with a revamp and some new energy. And they could learn a thing or two from that Dayton team, because I don't know how their other games went, but they played really hard in that game, especially on the defensive end. And I think that, if you take that and add in the talent, size, athleticism of this team, they'll be good moving forward.
One thing you mentioned with the marathon aspect, last year we saw this with David McCormick, where he really struggled in the non-con, and then he was fantastic in conference play. It was unfortunate that he had COVID and the foot issue headed into the NCAA tournament. And kind of the thought was this year that, okay, all that stuff's behind him, whatever was plaguing him. I know he mentioned just kind of overthinking things. He's a really thoughtful guy. And there have been struggles early on this year as well. I know Bill Self kind of called him out after the game on I think it was Wednesday or Thursday when they played North Texas. And then he kind of had a bit of a struggle in the game against Dayton as well. He finished off well in the last game. So you've obviously, played that direct spot, that 5 spot for Kansas. what do you think the conversations are like in the locker room with the coaches and kind of the expectations for what Bill Self is trying to get you to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll say starting off, as far as the slow start and overthinking things, which it sounds like is what he mentioned. I can attest to that because I know how it is coming off of the season before. You have all summer. You think, oh, this is how it's going to be. I remember coming off of my sophomore year. I was playing well towards the end, started the second half of the season into the March Madness, had a successful, March. And I remember that offseason, I was working on turnaround jump shots. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a bigger part of this offense. I had in my head, what I had was completely different than what I needed to have in my head. And it took me half the season until eventually, it was before that, I think Oklahoma game or something. And the players and coaches were like, hey, just keep it simple. Like you have a very, very easy way to approach this. And it really narrowed it down in my mind of what I needed to do. And when I watched him out there, I think that, he can start to simplify it a little bit more. I know that when I would go into games, I was never worried too much about, I'm going to have if I have a bad shooting night, this could be a bad game or something, because everything that I was doing, I could control. I can control setting good screens. I can control playing good defense. I can control a lot of that stuff. And so, it made the game, no matter the magnitude or anything, feel a lot more simple and easy. And so when I watch him, a few of the things that I noticed in the dating game was small things, just like position, and just if he focused on just being a step over here or there, I think it could really benefit him. And I see it a lot on defense. There's a difference between a shot blocker, elite shot blocker, and then what we heard a lot with me in college was a lane protector. I wasn't going to block shots. However, if you started driving, I could cut off, come over and cut you off, get in front and protect the lane. And I think that for him, he's not a Jeff Withey. He's not going to be going and blocking every shot. I think it would benefit him instead to just try to work on just getting in the right position, just taking a step over, walling up, being in the right spots on defense, on offense, putting a body on somebody when somebody's driving. I noticed a few times they would do that 4 out. Somebody would drive down the lane or something, and he may circle around or do something, but his defender slides over. Like, get in the way, on screen, stay an extra second. Remy is so dang good from the free throw line and his pull-up jump shots that if you just set a really good screen, and David should know this, if you set a good screen and he hits a couple of those, he's going to be the one benefiting from it, because eventually the defense is going to have to step up, and then it's an easy dunk. And that's much easier than catching it off the block and trying to do a turnaround jump shot or something. And so just simplifying it, keeping it simple. Dad, how much I had to, every year was like rebranding myself. In my head, I had something going on, and then halfway through the season it would click. All right, well, I'm trying to do too much. I need to simplify it and change that up a little bit.
Yeah. One of the things that Coach did such a good job of was give you basically the keys to success, and essentially just gave you a checklist of just do these things and you're going to be just fine. You're going to help this team. And the thing I think that was so important and so great about that opportunity for you was that you were willing to do that. And that's why those teams had success, was because of the fact that you were willing. You weren't saying, hey, I have to get 20.
I
enjoyed it. And you know how hard that is? The art of rebounding it's a lost cause. I can tell you that right now. Because the fact that when I see somebody who's a big and that big gets 5 rebounds and is just totally happy that they got 5 rebounds, that tells me right then and there that that's not something that they really wanted to do. Those 5 balls probably fell to him, or 4 of them did, and he went and maybe got 1. But the fact that you're willing to like you said, I'm not going to take myself out of the play, and swipe at something. I'm going to go stop and stop from even entering the lane. as you drive in baseline, that's massive. And guess what that doesn't do? It doesn't show up in any stat sheets. And so a lot of things that a big can do, it has to be selfless in some respects. It's almost like being an offensive lineman in some respects. It's like you don't get a bunch of glory from fans and all that stuff. There's no fantasy football offensive lineman positions, but or maybe there is, but not that I know. But you see what I'm saying, though. But so I just think you nailed it with just get simple, because you're surrounded by talented players when you're at Kansas. You're not at high school where you have to do it all. You're at Kansas, okay, and you can just play your position, stay in your lane, and your teams could have great success.
And he's talented, very talented. And I've had a chance to work out with him a few times. Strong, he has a lot of skills. I think it's really just watching, and I wish I was in Kansas and could just sit down and talk to him a little bit, because there's a few things just on film, and I know Coach Self, Coach Roberts, they're going to be great at this and spend his next all this break going over it. But there's just a few things where he's right there. It's not like it's a huge change. It's just, hey, get one step here, do this. When I see him working on the post, the pass is coming in, he has great position, is fighting hard, and then as the pass is coming in, he's losing position, instead of just holding one more second, or, even on that last play of the game, he catches it and reverse pivots and is farther away from the basket. And, there's small things where it's like, use your size, use your skill, and just change a little bit as far as positioning, and he'll be good. And on that last play, it was tough, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did as a big watching. As soon as he caught it, the help came from the corner. And what did you always tell me? Yeah, the first place you look is in that corner. I remember Svi used to just sit in the corner, and I'd catch the ball, and then Svi is over there in the corner, and that's the first place it was going off the way. And I forgot who was in the corner, but that's just such a money thing, and he draws so much attention that I think instead of trying to make something happen, just catch it and realize where you're at, realize where the defense is at, get that out, and that could cause a bad closeout, all kinds of stuff. But it's just small things like that where if he does it, he can go from, you saw last year in spurts, he has that potential, and he could go from right now kind of being in the doghouse and all that to having a huge second half of the season. And it's not even close to the second half yet, but, finishing the season strong, and really making an impact on this team, which the team has to have him if they're going to, be successful moving forward.
Yeah, I think that, when you look at all the bigs, because they do have options there, right? Like, we know Mitch Lightfoot, what you're going to get there is going to be trustworthy. He's going to come in, he's going to block shots for you and play hard. With Zach Clements, the young freshman, he's been really impressive in short spurts, hitting threes, which that'll be fun to watch his development over time. KJ Adams, I love watching that dude. He reminds me a little bit of you in terms of, obviously different bodies. He's like 6'7". He's more of a wing size-wise, but just being a guy who is willing to kind of do the dirty work, like you were talking about, rebound the basketball, play defense. And Bill Self said he was the best big in the game in their last game. Now, I'm sure that's a little bit of motivation to David McCormick, but like when you look at all those bigs, Dave is the one guy who, when he's on, he's going to be, hey, we're going to dump him the ball on the post and let him go to work. Like the other guys, it's either, I'm a stretch five, or I'm a freshman, I'm not ready offensively yet. Or in the case of Mitch Lightfoot, like I said, what you're going to get from him, and they'll give him the ball. He'll hit a hook shot every now and then. But Dave is the one guy who can add the offense down low to this team.
Yeah. And I think that, the coaching staff obviously recognizes that. They'll say what they want. I'm sure I haven't had a chance to listen to much, but I'm sure they're throwing out, oh, maybe we'll go with this guy, maybe we'll go small, all this stuff. Really, all it's doing is ultimately going to be motivating David, because they know at the end of the day, I've seen it done so many times. They know how to motivate these guys, get these guys on board. They know who their players need to be moving down the stretch, and he needs to be one of those guys. And so I would have full confidence that Coach Self will get him right. He has all the tools he needs. And he'll make it happen moving forward. So I'm excited to see the development of him, and hopefully can use these next few weeks, and then obviously the break to work on some of those things. Watch that film. Film is the best way to just see, okay, I was here, I needed to be here. And then it'll, allow you to recognize that in games as well. So real quick though, I want to talk briefly on Kansas football, because I saw this big win against Texas that I tuned in for the second half for. And then since then, I'm checking the score and I'm used to seeing, 40, 50 point blowouts and stuff. And here they are competing. So are we, turning this thing around, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, I think this is as positive as momentum has been for KU football since Mark Mangino. I just totaled it up earlier today. The point differential for KU football in the last month of the season, so the month of November, this is actually their best point differential since 2008. And they only won one of the games. You beat Texas, you're competitive with TCU, you're competitive with West Virginia. You probably could have won both games if not for you had 2 interceptions in the red zone against the Mountaineers, against TCU. You were up at halftime. You just had a kind of a bad third quarter defensively, and it kind of got away from you. But that's all people are asking, right? I mean, you probably heard it. Like, just be competitive, right? Everybody gets so entertained with KU basketball. They just want a competitive football team. Just make a bowl game every now and then. Just give them some reason to root and cheer on Saturdays. And I think Lance Leipold was a great hire when they hired him. I think the finish to this season only backs that up with the progress that they made throughout, just not really the entire season, but just in that last month alone. I mean, he still didn't even get spring practices with the team. He came in late. The first time he saw quarterbacks throwing live in pads was in August. And then you had the shortened season, and you kind of figured it out at the end. So a lot of exciting movement for KU football ahead.
Hey, Derek, do you think that, because it's really just been kind of the last few games, was there any personnel changes? Did they swap out the quarterback or something that could have contributed to this newfound success?
Yeah, so a little bit of that, a little bit of internal improvement. So Jared Casey, that's the name that everybody loves, and he was the guy who caught the 2-point conversion against Texas, and since then he's taken off, has touchdowns back-to-back weeks, got an Applebee's commercial. Who knows? Maybe Landon would have been on an Applebee's commercial 4 or 5 years ago.
I wish they were doing that back then. Just money.
No, right. So that's been a change in personnel. The quarterback, as you mentioned, Jalen Daniels took over for Jason Bean because of injury, and he was really good. His first 2 games, he was fantastic against Texas and TCU. He had the couple of interceptions against West Virginia, but besides that was good. He doesn't qualify for the list because he didn't have enough snaps, but if you put him in there for total QBR on ESPN, he would actually rank as the second best quarterback this season on ESPN. So he was really good when he came in. And then besides that, it was just kind of internal development. Like the offensive line, if you look at Pro Football Focus or places that kind of grade that stuff out, they were just leaps and bounds better over the last 6 games than they were the first 6 games. So it's a little bit of personnel changes, a little bit of just kind of internal improvement.
I will say the coach, I was very happy to see some of his decisions. I mean, the one game that I focused in and watched was that Texas game. And some of those calls down the stretch, the 4th down one, the go for it on 2. I remember the announcers on the 4th down one were just ripping him. And I'm thinking, this is the best thing he could do, because taking those kind of risks is what ultimately turns a program around. You get players interested in it. You get fans into it. You want to know that you're going out there and doing what you can to win, not trying to play it safe. You're not playing it safe for any reason. We haven't won many games at all in the past couple of years. So go out there, take those chances. And that's what I, enjoyed so much about him. And that was the first time that I was watching a game where, there was times with Les and, with some of the other coaches where I felt like, I don't know why you're not just taking a few more risks here and there. And so I was happy to see that at the end of the Texas game as a fan. And I'm sure as a player, when you're in that situation, you want to be taking all the risks possible, because why not? You got nothing to lose there.
Yeah, it's kind of the perfect mix between like the analytics crowd who's all about going for 4th down like all the time, and the side of the crowd who is, like you said, like, and you hear this all the time, like, you're a 31-point underdog or whatever your record is at the time, you're 2-8 or whatever. Like, why would you not go for it? Why would you not be aggressive? And I don't know if they ended up leading the way, but I just remembered that fourth down play you're referring to where he was getting kind of bashed for it. Like, they showed the graphic and it was they're number 1 in the Big 12 in fourth down attempts, which, like you said, it's just awesome that you would have that kind of gall to do that.
Just do it. Just do it. And when they were saying it, and then I think it ended up, they called a timeout and they were like, oh, they're going to come out and punt this. And he came back out and ended up, still and went for it. I don't even think they got it, but it was just I just like that. I want, as a fan, especially, you want to see that. You want to see them taking those risks and those chances. So I was very excited to see these close scores. I mean, it at least makes the game watchable, and I couldn't ask for more, as a Kansas fan, churning it on. I know, Dad, you got Oregon, so it's like, you always got something to watch. I'm just asking for, so I can turn on the TV and be, able to watch from beginning to end, have some kind of competitive, entertaining game with some drama. And they're providing that, and I think it's been a great job by the coaches, by the players to turn that around and hopefully finish this season with some momentum leading into next year.
All right, I got to ask you guys this. Obviously, like you said, your dad, Oregon guy, your Kansas guy. I don't know if you saw this, but NCAA tournament for volleyball just got released. Kansas is playing Oregon in the first round. Do you guys have a family-friendly wager?
Let's make one.
Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, whatever you want to do. I mean, the thing is that, Derek, I root for Oregon in every circumstance, in every game, in every level, every single time, but once. The one damn time that I did not.
We said we were going to talk about this, so I don't know why.
I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. Episode 1, and he's already going back to.
Hey, listen, I still have
the worst
day as well.
Day. It may be the worst day of my basketball career, and here he goes on episode 1, just throwing it out.
So anyway, wager accepted, because we got a good volleyball team.
We'll think of something, and we'll go ahead and put something together. But Derek, thanks for being with us.
Yes, sir.
Before you leave, we're about to do a quick top 5 Christmas list song, because we're going into Christmas. So what is your number 1 Christmas song to listen to?
I think you got to go Mariah Carey, right? I mean,
classic.
All I want is you. How do you not get better than that?
I like it.
You said it like it was just obvious. You think that's just an obvious one?
I think so.
I like it. We'll see how good his list is coming up in a minute. But thanks for being on the show as our first guest. Hopefully we'll have you back sometime. It was really nice talking to you, and the insight you brought was great. So thanks, Derek.
Absolutely. Have me on anytime. Appreciate it.
All right. See you. All right. Well, before we go into our last guest that we have, I want to go over this because, as you know, I have 2 little brothers that say, hey, you can't listen to Christmas music until after Thanksgiving, all this stuff. Well, Thanksgiving came and went, and I was getting curious. All right, so I'm making a playlist. What's the top 5 you need? And so I'm going to go ahead and start it off because I get to start it off. So I'm going to go with my top 5, and then I'll let you do yours, and we'll hear it. And then we'll bring on Joe for the last one. But number 5, okay, number 5, I have 8 Days of Christmas, and this is by Destiny's Child. It's a great song. It's a new one. I want to start it off with something that's a little outside the box. If you haven't heard it, go ahead and listen to it. It's great.
I feel like I should Google that.
You should. It's pretty good. Number 4, Most Wonderful Time of the Year. It's a classic, comes on, it's the most, just you just feel the Christmas. All right. Number 3, I'm going to go with Derek and do the All I Want for Christmas, because it's just a classic, it's a good one. Number 2, I'm doing the Chris Brown This Christmas. If you've ever seen a Black Holiday movie or Tyler Perry, that's definitely what you're going to hear in it. And it's a good one. And then number 1, and it's not even close, it's this and everything else, is the Carol of the Bells. The and the best is the trans, which, did you go see that this weekend?
Yeah, yesterday.
And so did they hit you? Is that their finisher? That has to be how they finish the show, right? Or lead
they close out with it, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Yes.
It's so good. All right, so I want to hear yours real quick. I want to know what your top 5 is.
So I honestly I don't have them listed as 5 right now, but I can tell you that Trans-Siberia one definitely on the list. But I'm very traditional about a lot of stuff. So, no
Destiny's Child on your list?
No Destiny's Child, but I will say Last Christmas I gave you my heart. A little Wham, right? Got a little Wham in there. There's nothing wrong with that. Mixing it up. But I'm just going to cut to the chase. It's not even close to what is the best one.
What is the best
because it's part of the best Christmas movie, and it is a Christmas movie.
Are you talking about Die Hard or something like that?
Yes, I'm talking about Die Hard, and I'm talking about the weather outside when the thing's driving away, and so Let Us Know. Is the number 1 Christmas song in my.
All right, well that's not too bad. You didn't even give a top 5 list, so I mean
I don't need a top 5. Okay, how about this? It's 1, 2, and 3. And then.
I'm going to take my list over yours, but we'll move on to the next thing. We have a segment for you, and this is our last guest of the night and kind of how we'll close things out. But we, thanks to your idea, came up with this name called From the Stands, where we're going to bring on a fan. We get all the, expert opinions, thoughts on things. We bring in guys like Derek who knows everything, but I want to connect with some of the best fans in the country and hear a little bit about what they think. And so now we want to bring on Joe. Let's get Joe on here. Joe, welcome.
Hey, Landon, how you doing? Richard, Jeff, how are you doing?
We're doing well. So we, Joe, I sent my dad the video of you shooting in MSG representing the University of Kansas against Michigan State. And I don't know if we can get that up on the screen, but I must say I am kind of disappointed that you let all of Jayhawk Nation down by losing this shooting contest in MSG.
Hey, we lost the battle that night, but won the war. All right.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah. And Landon, I think that's a little bit rude to invite a guest on and then immediately insult him. You know what I mean? That's like starting a sentence with "no offense, but." You know what I mean? Like you get him on, and then you start just giving him crap.
Let me give a little background. Can I give a little background leading up to that?
Go ahead. What's going on? How did you get selected for that?
So first of all, just a little background on me. I'm from New York. Like I went to KU. I just didn't even visit. I just showed up, and I really just wanted to be, a KU basketball fan and be a part of that.
Wow.
So whenever they play in the Garden, I mean, Knicks were my first love growing up here. When worlds collide like that, I love it. So I love when the Champions Classic comes out. But yeah, I just thought I was going to watch the, first KU basketball I've seen in person since, early 2020. I didn't know I was going to do this till literally the game tipped off. And one of the promoters asked my friend who's from Scotland. So he's more of a football soccer player. He's not really, basketball savvy. So he said no right away. But then he's like, oh, wait, my friend Joe, he might want to do it. And right away, let's go. Even though once I committed, I was nervous, very nervous. I was a few adult beverages deep. I was wearing skinny jeans. I wasn't really suited for, to shoot on the Madison Square Garden court competitively.
Yeah, but just think about it though. How few people can actually say that they've been in a competition, at the most famous arena in the world. So.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I had to do it. I mean, I'm coming out of the same tunnel as Willis Reed here.
Exactly.
On the court.
That's awesome.
What was the prize for that? What did the other guy get?
It ended up just being like a shirt and a hat. So it wasn't like I lost like 10K.
Okay, all right. Well, then we'll let it slide. We'll take the win in the game and not your shooting contest.
The guy I went against, I get down there, go through the bowels of MSG, meet up with who I'm going against, represented Michigan State. he's like 6'6", 6'7". Find out he's 1,000-point scorer in high school.
Oh,
Played
man.
against Keon Brooks.
They set you up.
Yeah, he was wearing like shooting pants, like 3/4 pants. I'm in skinny jeans here, so I can't get much lift with the legs. Not to make excuses, but and he told me he was just gonna. The contest was 1 point for a layup, 2 for a free throw, 3 for a 3. He said, I'm just going to go layups. I'm going to just Mike and drill under the hoop.
Well, for 1,000-point scorer, I'm actually kind of disappointed.
Yeah,
that was
people told me that. Like I was going back through the crowd. They're like, at least you got out there. So I decided like, I'm not going to win this probably. Let's go make a memory. Yeah. Went for layup first, botched it completely, got in my head. then I was like, I'm going to just shoot free throws. Missed the first. Saw the first one go through, missed the next. Then I was like you, Landon, in Waco in 2017, just ice water.
You remember that?
Hit 3 in a row. So I had a good finish there.
Oh man, that game in Waco! I tell you what, I was nervous because the game before we played, I think West Virginia or somebody, and in overtime I missed a bunch of free throws, and everybody was on me obviously, and I was like, oh, I got to work on it. And so I went that week and I worked on the free throws. And then that very next game, just so be it, I get the offensive rebound, get fouled on the putback. And there we are tied, top 5 matchup, CBS. We're tied with a few seconds left. And I'm at the line. I'm thinking, oh, don't miss these. You got to make these. And after the first one, the first one's the most important. If you miss that first one, it's in your head. And so I made the first one, made the second.
No, ice water. I remember. And the ball seems to find you when you're struggling in a certain aspect, huh? Right.
Well, I will tell you that, he was nervous at the line. What do you think his dad was thinking? So I'm sitting there like, I couldn't even watch. I was just like, I'm watching on television. I'm like, oh my God, if this guy misses it, it's like, I was so, I couldn't watch. And so my wife was like, okay, he made it. I was like, okay. Okay. I was more nervous than any time I ever played myself.
No, I bet. Well, he nailed them, and now we don't have to worry about that. That was an awesome move.
Yes, I did. All right, well, Joe, being our first, or this is now our second guest, but first fan on from the stand segment, I want to hear a little bit of the raw thoughts from a fan so far on this basketball season. How are you feeling? We're now 6 games into the season. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you feeling this team? Are we winning a national championship? Are we losing every game from here on out? Like, what are your thoughts so far?
I'm feeling pretty good. Now, granted, the grass is always greener. The sky's a little more blue, and KU's on a big winning streak here, especially among the fans. So definitely leaving Orlando. I mean, there seems that there's a little more work to be done. Maybe we're not at that first tier with the Gonzagas of the world and maybe now Duke. But I think we could totally get there. Doesn't seem like we're defensively there, which I mean, any fan of Kansas knows that's not going to fly with Coach Self. I mean, we're still 4 in Ken Palm. We're 4 in adjusted offense. We're 32 in adjusted defense. So it's not like we fell off a cliff here. But yeah, we really just have to get the defense, and then we got to get Big Dave going, which I think he expects it from himself. I'm sure he would tell all of us, but we really got to get him going. So, and I think we will. I really do. So, am I as super confident as we were before Orlando? No, maybe that took a little nick, but it's November, and the November games are for. And I've never seen as a fan, a Bill Self team get worse than they were in November. So I'm excited. I'm confident. I've got a flight booked to New Orleans. I do it every year. Sometimes I cancel that flight. Sometimes I don't.
I love it.
I'm hoping we're going to be dancing in the Big Easy in New Orleans. That loss hasn't changed my outlook on that.
Awesome.
So,
go ahead.
Can I ask you a quick question? So Joe, in person, what was your favorite Kansas game in person that you've seen? Which game is your hands down number one? Sure.
So in the non-Fieldhouse game, I mean, I went to Maui in 2019, which I think I might be partially responsible for this Dayton loss, because I put up so many prayers to the basketball gods to win that game while I was in Maui.
Crazy game.
Yeah, so I was just like, please just win while I'm here. So I might be partially responsible here for this Dayton loss. So that was incredible. Like, because I mean, in Maui, like the intimacy of that atmosphere, seeing big dope block shots and run down on fast break layups. And Dayton fans are fantastic. They really are. They packed the gym too. It was like a national championship game, but just in like a 2,000, person arena. So I'd say that's my favorite in-person game. In the field house, I had some good ones there. I graduated in 2009. So I was there during the national championship run. But my freshman year, they had a wild comeback against Oklahoma where they were down like 11 with 6 minutes left. And I was like B. Ross Chalmers freshman year. And that was really their like coming out party. So I'd say that was my favorite field house game so far.
Awesome.
Well, that Maui Classic, man, that's a fun one. Dad, you got a chance to go out there and that playing in that little tiny gym, with all those fans, it's awesome. But Joe, I appreciate you coming on and giving us your thoughts. Before you leave, we asked Derek this. I want to know, what is the best Christmas song out there? What are you listening to on repeat heading into the holidays?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Rudolph still bangs. It's a classic. Yeah. But I also like the classical stuff. Like when they play in Home Alone when he's setting up his traps. I forgot the name of that song. But it's really good classical, and it's kind of just a beautiful song. And I think the holiday season's really nice and pretty. So I like that type of stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Joe, being our first fan on From the Stands and giving us your input. We appreciate having you on, and I hope that you have a good rest of the week.
Likewise, thrilled to be. And I will be at the St. John's game, and I'm going to the Missouri game. I'm flying out, so I've got a lot of Jayhawk basketball in my future.
Awesome. Well, enjoy those games.
Will do. Rock Chalk. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks, Joe. All right. Well, we're coming to a close now on the first episode. Hopefully not the last. Hopefully we did it well enough.
I don't know. Who knows? We went kind of long too, so they may be like tuned out.
I mean, at least it's not live, so maybe we can edit it down a little bit. But I had a good time. I don't know about you, but that was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it was okay.
It was just okay.
I'm glad. Hey, listen, hey, come on. I get to hang with my son, right? I mean, so as a father, there's very few things that trump being able to help his son out. So yeah, I had a great time, and I look forward to doing more of these.
Awesome. Well, anybody listening, if we have a couple of those moving forward, feel free to give us your input. We want to know what guests you want to see. We want to know topics you want to hear. We're very diverse. We could talk about all kinds of stuff. And so very curious to get your input on this as a listener. And we hope to continue to build this. We don't even have a logo or anything yet, so we're kind of just scrapping this together right now. But hopefully get some good guests on. We'll get Coach Self. We'll get some players and all that on. Ask them some hard questions. Go over some good memories. So very excited to continue to move this thing forward and continue to grow the show.